AITA for exposing my mom for forging my signature at my dad's birthday dinner? I'm Rashima, 39, the oldest daughter in a family that treats being practical like a character flaw. I live on my own, pay my own bills, and have spent most of my adult life being called cold because I read the fine print before I agree to anything. I save receipts. I ask who is paying for what. I ruin emotional speeches by saying, "Can you send that to me in writing?" My parents, Nalini and Arvind, call that disrespectful. My younger brother, Dev, calls it dramatic. I call it the reason I still have a credit score. I didn't grow up hating my family. I wanted to believe my parents were just traditional in that uneven way some families are. A little harder on daughters. A little softer on sons. A little too concerned with what relatives thought. A little too quick to turn Dev's mistakes into family emergencies and my boundaries into personal attacks. For years, I told myself it was annoying, not dangerous. Dev is 34, charming when he wants something and wounded when he doesn't get it. He was always the one who just needed a little help. He missed payments because someone gave him bad advice. He borrowed money because something unexpected came up. He fell behind because the world was hard on him. He never failed. He was failed by timing, by banks, by employers, by friends, by anyone except himself. And every time my mother cried, "Don't shame your brother," she would say, lowering her voice like the shame was mine for noticing. My father, Arvind, never cried. He just looked away. That was his entire parenting style once things got uncomfortable. He would rub his forehead, sigh, and say, "Rashima, you are more stable than he is." That sentence cost me more money than I like to admit. There was the time Dev needed help catching up on car payments. My parents told me it was temporary. I sent money and asked Dev to confirm repayment dates by text. My mother called me 5 minutes later. "He's your brother. Why do you need everything to be so formal?" "Because informal is how I end up paying for things I didn't agree to," I said. She told me I had become too American, too cold, too suspicious. There was the time Dev and his wife, Mira, suddenly needed help with a deposit after a miscommunication. Mira sent me heart emojis and called me sis 3 times in one text. Dev promised he would pay me back after one big thing clears. It never cleared. When I asked him about it 6 months later, he said, "You're really keeping score?" I said, "Yes." He laughed like I was embarrassing myself. My mother's favorite phrase was, "Family comes first." She posted it in the family group chat after every birthday, holiday, prayer night, and dramatic disagreement. She put it under Facebook photos of potluck trays and cousins standing shoulder to shoulder in living rooms. Aunties commented with red hearts. Uncles wrote, "Beautiful family." Meanwhile, in private, she would call me and say, "People are watching how you treat your family." Once I told her, "Funny how nobody watches how the family treats me." She went silent for 3 full seconds, which was how I knew I had hit something real. Then she said, "You always wanted to prove you were better than us." That was the pattern. Dev made a mess. My mother turned it into a test of my loyalty. My father softened the demand by pretending it was reasonable. Mira acted sweet until she got what she needed. Then everyone moved on and I was left with receipts no one wanted to discuss. So when the certified letter came, my first thought was not that my family had done something illegal or reckless. My first thought was, please let this be a clerical error. The envelope was thick, stiff, and ugly in the way official mail always is. It had a reference number, a deadline to respond, and Dev's name printed in the first paragraph. Mine was in the second. According to the letter, I was listed as a consenting guarantor on paperwork connected to a financial restructuring involving Dev. The language was dry, but the meaning was not. My name had been attached to something that could become my problem if Dev failed to handle his. I read it 3 times at my kitchen table with the envelope slit open beside my coffee. Then I called the number on the letter. The representative was polite. Too polite. "I'm calling because I received a certified letter saying I'm listed on a document," I said. "I have never seen this document in my life." There was typing on the other end. "You are listed as a consenting party," she said. "There is a signed document and a scanned ID copy attached to the file." My body went cold in a very clean, quiet way. "A signed document by me?" I asked. "That is what we have on file. I need a copy. We can email it to the address listed after verification." I verified what I could, then sat there waiting for the email like I was waiting for a medical result. When the PDF arrived, I opened it on my laptop and zoomed in so fast the screen blurred for a second. There it was. My name typed neatly. My initials in 2 boxes. My signature at the bottom. From a distance it looked like mine. Up close it looked like someone had copied a memory of me. The loops were close. The slant was close. But the date was wrong. The initials were wrong too, not in a way a stranger would notice, but in a way I noticed immediately. Years ago, I used to initial documents with my first and last initial tightly connected. I stopped doing that after I had to update a stack of banking forms. Now I separated them. The initials on this document were the old style. The signature looked like it had been lifted from a different life. I called my mother first. I don't know why. Maybe because some part of me still wanted her to say, "What? That's impossible." She picked up on the 4th ring. "Rashima," she said, already tired. "I'm making dinner. I received a certified letter today." Silence. "It says I'm listed on paperwork connected to Dev." A pan clattered in the background. "Why do you always assume the worst of us?" I leaned back in my chair. "I didn't say US. I said paperwork." "Dev needed help," she snapped. Then she caught herself. "Your brother has been under so much pressure." "I didn't say Dev did anything. You did. Don't twist my words. This is why people are afraid to talk to you." That was when my stomach dropped. Not because she was angry. My mother was always angry when cornered. It was because she hadn't asked. "What paperwork?" She already knew. "Did you use my name?" I asked. "Don't be dramatic. Did you use my signature? After everything we did for you, this is how you speak to us? That is not an answer." She lowered her voice. "Your father's birthday dinner is Sunday. We will talk then. Don't ruin this week." Then she hung up. Dev called 12 minutes later. I let it ring once just to look at his name on my phone. Then I answered. "What the hell is your problem?" he said. "Hello to you too. Mom is crying. Mom cries when the grocery store is out of the yogurt she likes." "This is serious." "Yes," I said. "It is. It's paperwork, Rashima. Stop acting like I stole your house. You put my name on a financial document I didn't agree to. No one forced you." I almost laughed. I didn't know it existed. You were going to help anyway. There it was. Not a denial. Not confusion. Entitlement, plain and round like a stone dropped on the table. How was I going to help with something I didn't know existed? I asked. He exhaled hard. "You always do this. You make everything so difficult. Mom said you'd sign eventually." Eventually is not consent. You just wanted everyone to see me fail. No, Dev. You didn't need me for that. He cursed under his breath and hung up. By that evening, the family group chat had started warming up. Our family chat was one of those groups with too many people and too many opinions. Cousins, aunties, uncles, in-laws, people who only appeared when someone got engaged, sick, or publicly shamed. My mother used it like a stage with notifications. The first message was from a cousin I hadn't seen in months. "Money comes and goes. Family is forever." Then an auntie wrote, "Sometimes daughters forget where they came from." Another cousin added, "It's just paperwork. Why are you acting like they robbed you?" My phone buzzed while I stood in the kitchen heating leftovers I suddenly couldn't eat. I watched the messages stack up, each one clearly based on a story I hadn't been allowed to tell. Aunt Priya, my father's sister, wrote, "Rashima, I think everyone needs to calm down. Your mom says there has been a misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. I stared at that word for a long time. That was the night I stopped defending myself and started documenting them. I didn't reply in the chat. I took screenshots. Every message. Every moral lecture. Every little jab about selfishness and sacrifice. I created a folder on my laptop and named it Dev Paperwork. Then I changed the name to Signature. It felt more accurate. The next morning Mira texted me. "Hey, can we talk woman to woman? This has gotten so ugly." That was Mira's style. Soft words over sharp intentions. I wrote back. "Send whatever you want to say in writing." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then she sent, "I thought your mom had already talked to you." We were all under pressure. I replied. Who is we? She didn't answer. An hour later, she forwarded me an email. I think she meant to send only the last message in the thread, the one where someone had written about a deadline. But she forwarded the entire chain. I opened it while standing near my printer, and my pulse changed before I even reached the bottom. There was an older message from Dev to Mira and my mother. Rashima is being difficult now, but Nalini said she'll fold if everyone knows she promised. My mouth went dry. Below that, Mira had written, just make sure this doesn't come back on us. I don't know the legal details. Not what are you talking about? Not did she agree? Not don't use her name. Just make sure this doesn't come back on us. I saved the email as a PDF. I printed it. I put it in the folder. After that, I went looking for my old paperwork. I have a plastic file box in my closet where I keep tax forms, insurance letters, old family documents, and every piece of paper my mother once accused me of being weird for saving. I pulled it out, sat cross-legged on the floor, and started sorting. It took me 2 hours to find what I was looking for. For years earlier, my parents had asked me to sign something related to a small family property matter. Nothing dramatic. Nothing connected to Dev. I remembered signing it at their dining table while my mother complained that I was reading it too slowly. The copy was in the old folder, slightly bent at the corner. I scanned it, opened it beside the new document, and zoomed in. Same loop in the R. Same odd pressure point near the end. Same old initials. Same slight break where my pen had skipped on cheap paper. I sat there staring at both signatures until my eyes hurt. They hadn't just borrowed my name. They had borrowed my hand. For a few minutes, I let myself feel everything I had been keeping out of the room. Anger. Disgust. Grief too, which annoyed me the most. I wanted to be past grief. I wanted to be the kind of woman who looked at betrayal and simply opened a spreadsheet. But I was still my parents' daughter. Some stupid part of me still remembered being a kid who thought my father's silence meant wisdom, and my mother's tears meant love. Then my phone buzzed again. It was a voicemail from my mother. I had ignored the call because I knew I would lose my temper if I picked up. Her voice came through soft and urgent. Rashima, please don't make this legal. Dev can't survive another humiliation. Your father is not sleeping. Why do you need to punish us? We are your family. Just come Sunday and we will fix it quietly. Played it twice. Then I saved it. The thing about people who use guilt as a weapon is that they forget it records beautifully. That afternoon I called Mr. Harlan, the attorney who had handled some estate and property paperwork for my parents in the past. He wasn't my lawyer yet, not exactly, but I trusted him to be dry, careful, and uninterested in family theatrics. I sent him the certified letter, the new PDF, the old signature, and a short explanation. He called me back the next morning. Do not debate this at dinner, he said. That was his greeting. Good morning to you too, I said. I'm serious. If you did not sign, you need to dispute it formally. You should request signature verification, ask for all communication in writing, and stop discussing the substance of this verbally with anyone involved. I already stopped answering calls. Good. My family is telling everyone I agreed and backed out. That may be emotionally relevant, he said, but the document is the issue. Stay focused on the document. I looked at the growing folder on my table. They made it public. Then be precise, not emotional. They already made me the villain. Then bring facts. I almost smiled. After we hung up, he sent a written note confirming the steps I could take. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't movie lawyer language. It was better than that. It was clear. It gave me something my family hated. A process they couldn't guilt trip. I filed the formal dispute. I requested signature verification. I asked that any future communication involving me, Dev, my parents, or related financial documents be in writing. I copied the appropriate office, saved the receipt, and printed the confirmation. Then I waited. Not because I was unsure, because I wanted them to keep talking. And they did. Dev texted. Mom said you'd sign eventually. Don't embarrass us now. My mother texted. You are making your father sick over one signature. A cousin wrote in the group chat. Some people care more about being right than being loved. An uncle wrote. Sometimes being right isn't worth destroying your family. I screenshotted all of it. On Friday night my father called. I almost didn't answer. Then I thought about the way he had looked away my entire life, and I answered because I wanted to hear what his silence sounded like when it finally had words. Beta, he said quietly. That word hit harder than I wanted it to. What do you need, Dad? A long pause. Your mother is very upset. I'm sure. Let's not make this bigger than it has to be. It became big when my signature appeared on a document I never signed. He breathed into the phone. I could hear a TV in the background, low and muffled. Your mother was worried about Dev. Did you know? He didn't answer. Dad. I saw the papers, he said. Everything in me went still. Before they were sent? I asked. Yes. And you knew I had not signed them? He whispered. I thought once it was done you would forgive us. I closed my eyes. There are sentences that don't just hurt. They rearrange the past. All those years I thought my father's silence meant he was overwhelmed, or weak, or trying to keep peace in his clumsy way. But this wasn't peacekeeping. This was permission. So the plan was never to ask me, I said. It was to trap me and wait for me to calm down. Rashima, don't say it like that. How should I say it? I know you. You get angry than you think. No, I said. You know the version of me who used to clean up quietly because I didn't want Mom to be embarrassed. He sighed. Dev is in trouble. Dev is always in trouble. He is your brother. And I am your daughter. The line went quiet. I had never said it that simply before. Maybe that was why he had no prepared answer. I will see you Sunday, I said. Please don't come angry. I'm not angry. That wasn't entirely true. But anger was no longer in the driver's seat. Evidence was. Saturday I built the timeline. I used my laptop at the kitchen table with a cup of tea that went cold before I drank it. I made one clean PDF called The Signature I Never Gave. I didn't add insults. I didn't add dramatic fonts. I listed dates. Certified letter received. Copy requested. Document received. Call with Nalini. Call with Dev. Mira's forwarded email. Old signature comparison. Nalini's voicemail. Irvin's private admission. Formal dispute filed. I added screenshots as exhibits. I added the old signature and new signature side by side. I added Dev's texts. I added the voicemail transcript. I added Mr. Harlan's note at the end. Then I printed a hard copy and put it into a folder with tabs. Letter. Signature. Email. Text. Voicemail. Legal. For once I didn't prepare to be understood. I prepared to be undeniable. Sunday came with the kind of weather that makes families believe they are allowed to behave badly indoors. My father's birthday dinner was at my parents' place, the same kind of gathering we had done for years. Folding chairs in the living room. Potluck trays lined up on the counter. Paper plates stacked beside plastic forks. Too many shoes by the door. Too many relatives pretending not to look at me when I walked in. The cake sat untouched on the dining table. White frosting, blue lettering. Candles still in the box. My father was in his usual chair, smiling weakly as relatives wished him happy birthday. My mother moved around the room like a director checking the set before the main scene. Dev stood near the kitchen with Mira. He looked tired. Not humble, just tired. Mira held her phone in both hands and didn't meet my eyes. Aunt Priya hugged me near the doorway. Rashima, she said softly. I think everyone needs to calm down tonight. I agree, I said. She seemed relieved until I added. Calm people can still tell the truth. My mother clapped her hands before dinner. Everyone, please sit. Tonight we are going to clear the air as a family. A few cousins exchanged looks. My phone buzzed in my purse. The group chat was already alive. My mother waited until plates were full. That was smart. People are more trapped with food in their laps. She stood beside my father and placed one hand on his shoulder. Today is your father's birthday, she said, looking around the room. And all he wanted was peace. But peace is not possible when one person refuses to put family first. There it was. Dev looked down. Mira's thumb moved over her phone. My mother continued. Dev has been trying so hard to protect this family. He has carried burdens many of you don't even know. And when we needed one simple signature, one act of trust, Rashima decided to punish him. The room was quiet except for a fork hitting a paper plate. My father stared at the carpet. Dev finally spoke, his voice rough. I never thought my own sister would try to ruin me. A cousin murmured, "That's terrible." My mother turned to me with wet eyes that had served her well for decades. Then she held out a pen. "Just sign the acknowledgement, Beta," she said. "Don't make this awkward." I looked at the paper she had placed on the table. It wasn't the original document. It was an acknowledgement that I would not dispute the prior signature, and that the family matter had been resolved privately. And below the text, in a printed attachment, was the document that already had my signature on it. The same signature I never gave. For a second, the room moved far away. I saw the cake, the folding chairs, the aunties leaning forward, Dev's jaw tightening, Mira gripping her phone, my father's hand curling around the arm of his chair. Everyone was waiting for the old Rashima, the one who would measure the public embarrassment, swallow the private damage, and sign to keep the room from breaking. Picked up the pen. My mother's shoulders softened. Then I set the pen down beside the paper. "Why is my signature already on this?" I asked. The room went so quiet I could hear someone's phone vibrating against a plate. Dev hissed, "Can you not do this here?" I looked at him. "You did it here." My mother's face tightened. "Rashima, enough. We are not going to humiliate your brother at his father's birthday." "You already used the birthday," I said. "Don't complain when I bring the truth to the party you planned." An uncle cleared his throat. "Sometimes being right isn't worth destroying your family." I turned toward him. "You all called me selfish before asking what I was refusing to do." He looked down. I reached into my bag and placed the printed folder on the table. Then I took out my phone and sent the PDF to the family group chat. Every phone in the room started pinging. One after another. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The file name appeared on screens around the room. The signature I never gave. My mother's face changed before she even opened it. "If you want to judge me as a family," I said, "you can read what was done to me as a family." "Rashima," my father said quietly. I didn't look at him yet. My mother reached for the folder, but I placed my hand on it. "No. You had your version. This is mine." "This is private," she snapped. "So was my signature." That landed. I saw it move through the room like a draft under a door. I opened the folder to the first tab. This is the certified letter I received. It says I am listed as a consenting guarantor on paperwork connected to Dev's financial restructuring. I did not know this document existed. Dev stood. "You don't have to make it sound so." "Sit down," Aunt Priya said. Everyone looked at her. Even I did. Dev sat. I turned the page. "This is the document they sent me. That is my name. Those are initials that look like mine from years ago. That is a signature that looks like mine if you don't look too closely. The date is a day I signed nothing." Nalini shook her head. She knew Dev was struggling. She knew we needed help. "That is not consent," I said. I turned to the next tab. "This is a document from 4 years ago. I signed it for my parents for an unrelated family property matter. Here is that signature beside the new one." People leaned in despite themselves. Same loop. Same slant. Same old initials. A cousin whispered, "Oh my God." My mother snapped, "You are not a handwriting expert." "No," I said. "That's why I requested formal signature verification." Dev's face went pale. I turned the page again. "This is the email Mira forwarded to me by mistake." Mira's head jerked up. I read only the line that mattered. "Rashima is being difficult now, but Nalini said she'll fold if everyone knows she promised." The room froze. Mira said quickly, "I didn't know the legal details." I looked at her. "You knew enough to hope it didn't come back on you." Her mouth closed. My mother started crying. Not softly. Not privately. The big kind, the kind meant to make everyone stop looking at the evidence and start looking at her pain. "You are enjoying this," she said. "You always wanted to prove you were better than us." I turned the page. "This is Dev's text. Mom said you'd sign eventually. Don't embarrass us now." Dev rubbed his face. "I was under pressure." You put me under liability. You were going to help. I was going to decide. He had no answer for that. Aunt Priya was reading from her phone now, scrolling through the PDF. Her expression had changed. The soft mediator was gone. Nalini, she said, did Rashima actually agree to this? My mother wiped her face. She knew what Dev was going through. Aunt Priya's voice sharpened. That is not what I asked. The room shifted. For the first time, the question was not, why is Rashima being difficult? It was, what did Nalini do? My mother looked at my father. He looked away. I almost laughed. Even then he tried to disappear. I opened the voicemail tab. This is a voicemail Mom left me after I started asking questions. Nalini lunged verbally before I even pressed play. You recorded your mother? You left the voicemail. I pressed play. Her voice filled the room from my phone speaker. Rashima, please don't make this legal. Dev can't survive another humiliation. Your father is not sleeping. Why do you need to punish us? We are your family. Just come Sunday and we will fix it quietly. No one moved. When it ended, Nalini said, that is out of context. I said, that was context. Aunt Priya looked at her. You knew she was disputing it. Nalini's lips trembled. I knew she was being stubborn. No, I said. You knew I had not agreed. Dev stood again, knocking his chair back. Fine. Fine. You win. Is that what you want? You want everyone to see me fail. No, Dev, I said. I want everyone to stop making me the payment plan for your failures. He flinched, and for a second I saw something like shame under the anger. It didn't last. You ruined me, he said. You put my name on paper. My mother pointed at me. You are killing this family. No, I said. I'm refusing to be the body you bury your mistakes under. That sentence came out sharper than I expected. A few relatives looked down at their plates. Someone in the kitchen whispered, Jesus. My father finally stood. He looked older than he had an hour earlier. Smaller too. But I was done confusing smallness with innocence. I saw the papers, he said. My mother turned on him. Arvind. He didn't look at her. He looked at the floor between us. I saw them before they were sent. The room went completely still. I asked, and you knew I hadn't signed them? His voice broke. I thought you would forgive us. I nodded once. You were counting on it. He pressed his lips together and said nothing. That admission did what my evidence had started. It broke the last wall of my mother's story. Until then, she could pretend misunderstanding, stress, desperation, family confusion. My father had just confirmed it was a choice. Aunt Priya stood. I think everyone owes Rashima an apology, she said. No one rushed to give one. That would have been too clean. Real families don't flip like movie crowds. They sit in the mess and calculate what it means for them. One cousin stared at his phone and slowly deleted a message from the group chat. Another auntie stopped making eye contact. An uncle who had told me money comes and goes suddenly looked fascinated by his plate. My mother sat down hard. Dev started pacing near the kitchen. What happens now? I closed the folder. What happens now is already happening. I filed a formal dispute. I requested signature verification. I instructed the office that anything involving my name, Dev, my parents, or any family-related financial or legal document comes to me in writing. I also spoke to Mr. Harlan. My mother whispered, You brought a lawyer into this. You brought my name into it first. Dev said, You didn't have to make it legal. You made it legal when you put my name on paper. Mira finally spoke, her voice small. We were all under pressure. I looked at her. Pressure is not a signature. She looked down. Then I said the part one had practiced until it felt steady. From now on, I will talk about family at dinner. I will talk about money and legal documents in writing. I will not sign, guarantee, acknowledge, cover, verbally agree, or just help, because someone cries in a room full of relatives. If my name appears on family paperwork again, my lawyer sees it before my mother does. Nalini made a sound like I had slapped her. You are not my enemy, I said to her. But you are not allowed to use me as protection from the consequences of your favorite child. Dev laughed bitterly. Favorite child? There it is. I looked at him. Dev, you have been protected so long you think accountability is an attack. For once, he had nothing clever to say. I didn't stay for cake. As I walked to the door, my father said, Rashima. I stopped but didn't turn around. I'm sorry, he said. It was the smallest apology I had ever heard. Too late, too thin, and still partly aimed at making the moment softer for him. I said, put it in writing. Then I left. The group chat exploded before I reached my car. First it was chaos. People asking questions they should have asked days earlier. People saying they needed to process. People claiming they had only known what my mother told them. One cousin wrote, I'm deleting my comments because I didn't understand the situation. Aunt Priya wrote, before anyone says one more word about Rashima's loyalty, read the documents. That message stayed. My mother didn't respond in the chat. Dev did. You all happy now? Hope everyone enjoyed watching my life fall apart. No one rushed to comfort him. That was new. Mira wrote, this is a private marital and family matter and people should respect that. A cousin replied, you were in the email thread. She left the chat 3 minutes later. By Monday afternoon, 2 relatives had called to apologize. Not perfect apologies. Real ones are clumsy. One cousin said, I'm sorry. I believed your mom because she sounded so hurt. I said, next time ask what happened before you decide who was in the wrong. He accepted that. Aunt Priya called in the evening. I should have asked you first, she said. Yes, I said. She sighed. I thought you were being hard. I was being careful. I see that now. That one mattered. Not because I needed everyone on my side, but because Priya had always been the family's professional smoother-over. Hearing her choose the question over the performance felt like watching a door unlock. The legal side didn't wrap up overnight, because real consequences rarely arrive with dramatic music. There was no police scene at dinner. No one was dragged out in handcuffs. Dev didn't lose everything by sunrise. But the thing he needed most disappeared immediately, the family's automatic protection. Relatives who had been ready to pressure me suddenly wanted distance from anything with their names attached. People stopped offering vague support. Aunties who once said, family comes first, started asking whether any of their own information had been used. Uncles who had lectured me about loyalty became very interested in written documentation. Dev called me on Tuesday. I didn't answer. He texted, can we talk like adults? I wrote back, email me. He replied, you're unbelievable. I screenshotted it out of habit, then surprised myself by not caring. From what I heard through Priya, Dev had to deal with the restructuring without my name. That meant harsher terms, more scrutiny and conversations he had been trying to avoid. Some family transfers came to light too. Zelle payments, Venmo notes, temporary help that had never been repaid. Money my parents had told me they didn't have when they asked me to contribute to other things. That part made me angrier than I expected. It was never just that Dev needed help. It was that I had been told everyone was struggling equally, while he was being quietly rescued, and I was being publicly shamed for not offering more. My mother tried one last public performance. 3 days after the dinner, she posted a family photo on Facebook with the caption, in hard times, we learn who truly values family, forgiveness, and sacrifice. Usually, that kind of post got a flood of hearts from aunties and cousins. This one got 7 likes. Then Aunt Priya commented, forgiveness requires truth first. The comment stayed up for 40 minutes before my mother deleted the whole post. After that, the inspirational quotes stopped. For the first time in my life, my mother's tears did not come with an audience already assigned to blame me. A week after the dinner, I sent one email to my parents, Dev and Mira. No drama. No long emotional history. Just boundaries. I wrote that I would not provide money without written terms. I would not sign or guarantee anything for anyone. I would not discuss financial or legal matters by phone. I would not participate in family paperwork unless the documents were sent directly to me, and, if necessary, reviewed by counsel. I would not tolerate group chat smear campaigns based on lies involving my name. If anyone made a false claim about my agreement, signature, money, or involvement, I would correct it with documentation. I ended with, I will discuss family as family. I will discuss money and legal matters in writing. My father replied 2 days later. I understand. I am sorry for my part. It wasn't enough to fix us, but it was the first honest sentence he had given me in years. My mother didn't reply. Dev wrote, "You got what you wanted." I almost answered. I almost wrote a paragraph about how none of this was what I wanted. I wanted parents who didn't treat me like a backup account. I wanted a brother who could be scared without making me responsible. I wanted a mother who didn't confuse control with love, and a father who didn't hide cowardice under quiet. Instead I wrote, "No, Dev. I got my name back." Then I blocked him for a while. Not forever. I'm not interested in making permanent speeches while emotions are fresh. But I needed silence that didn't belong to them. The strange thing about family pressure is that once it lifts, you notice how heavy it had been. My evenings felt longer. My phone felt less like a trap. I stopped rehearsing explanations for people committed to misunderstanding me. I still talk to Aunt Priya. A few cousins have made real efforts. My father sends careful emails now, like every sentence is walking past broken glass. My mother communicates mostly through silence, which is honestly one of the healthiest things she has ever given me. I didn't destroy my family. I exposed a system that had been running on my compliance. And that birthday dinner did become a family memory, just not the one my mother planned. It became the night people stopped clapping before reading the paper. It became the night Dev learned that fear didn't give him the right to use me. It became the night my father's silence finally had to testify. For years they called me cold because I asked for proof. Now they call me careful. They mean it as an insult. I take it as a receipt. I didn't destroy my family. I just stopped letting them hide the damage under my name. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.